Doing all right.
I usually wait for Harry to give me the countdown signal. He didn't give it to me, so I guess, and I feel like I jumped the shark a little bit. Like I just started talking. There we go.
Like this is the intro.
Whoa! Welcome back to the second hour of Lovebabz Love Talk. As promised, our good resident spiritual Yoruba leader is with us this
Oh,
morning. Hey, Enroue. Hey,
hey there, Babs.
how you feeling?
Howdy. I'm doing all right. It feels like a thickly scheduled day for me. So it's all
Wow.
good things, but it's one of those like there's this, then there's the things are stacked up.
Yeah. I
So
have those days.
even when they're good, it still feels like I have to be conscious about slowing down, like really being present in the thing that I'm in.
Yeah.
Not okay. I'm here, and then there's the next thing. So
Yeah.
I'm here.
No. I feel everything about that. Absolutely. So,
Hmm.
well, that's a good thing to talk about, the being present and in this season of busyness and moving about. Unless you have, what else did you have on your mind?
Well, we'll just start off with a little chant first, and then
Yes, we love that.
we'll go from there. So as we do at the start of our time together, we welcome and we honor our ancestors for the gifts, for the blessings that they have left for us, that they've passed on to us. And we're honoring them for this gift, and we're letting them know that we're using these gifts today. Ibaba tó fún wa ṣe o. Ibaba tó fún wa ṣe. Ibaba tó fún wa ṣe o. Ibaba tó fún wa ṣe. Àṣetè fún wa là ń lò yìí o. Ibaba tó fún wa ṣe. Ìbà yeye tó fún wa ṣe o. Ìbà yeye tó fún wa ṣe. Ìbà yeye tó fún wa ṣe o. Ìbà yeye tó fún wa ṣe. Àṣetè fún wa là ń lò yìí o. Ìbà yeye tó fún wa ṣe. Ìbà egungun tó fún wa ṣe o. Ìbà egungun tó fún wa ṣe. Ìbà egungun tó fún wa ṣe o. Ìbà egungun tó fún wa ṣe. Àṣetè fún wa là ń lò yìí o. Ìbà egungun tó fún wa ṣe. 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 Àṣẹ.
Ashe, amen. How
Hmm.
you be, Enroue? How you be?
Well, I'm good. So I think in a similar way, like there's like the ideas of things, and I think actually to continue in some ways with what we were talking about beforehand, this like really being present. And so I think that that's the kind of leaning more into like, so as I was chanting that, it's a chant I know well and I really love, and to really be present with like the space between words, with the rhythm of it, is just a really different experience. There's the like, I'm not chanting to then get to the end of it so that then we can have this other conversation. It's really being in it and the space in it and feeling it in my body. And so really, I think in this time, for me, this like how to stay heart-centered in this time, and both the season, right, where there's family and things to do and holidays and gotta give thanks. Oh, but there's this also day of mourning and Christmas and Hanukkah and solstice, the things and presents, and it's snowing and climate crisis and wildfires, like, and like, oh, let me, and right, that's to say nothing of what's happening in the political climate in this country, and the urgency and the rushing or the grief or the anger or the elation that some people are feeling, like all the busyness that's around it. And like, oh, let me come back to my heart and feel it and attend to it and give space for its tenderness, even as all the things are pulling me in so many directions to attend to so many things. And so that's what feels really active. I can, there's certainly lots of things to talk about and frameworks and analysis and how to adjust this or lean into this, or this is this tradition, or the importance that we align these alliances, and what does liberation mean? And like, let's come back to really being present in our hearts, and can we relate to each other and relate to ourselves from that place, and let's see what happens there. And that's not easy, and that takes courage to also be present with that. But that actually feels much more important now, like in this actual moment, than some of the other thoughts and ideas.
I like that, to be present, because we are in this season of busyness, right? I gotta go get my tree. I gotta go get this. I gotta bake this. I gotta do that. I gotta show up here. I gotta go over here.
Right.
And before you know it, you run yourself ragged before you even got to sit and be in this time and space of mystery, magic, and
Right.
mystery.
Right. And like joy somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Celebration somehow is supposed to be in there, and being with choosing to, we don't all get all these choices, but there are choices of also choosing to be with people who you love and care about.
Mm-hmm.
Not that in all those situations we're only surrounded by those folks, but we also get to choose that. And so if we're running, we're not even really being present with the people who we really want to be with. So I think this is really just an invitation to slow down a bit and actually invite people, like literally, and then they're listening right now. If they're in the middle of doing something else and just listening, maybe just pause for like a count of 10 in whatever other thing you're doing, to just sit and listen, either to me and to us, or like notice just what's around you, but like physically stop doing other things and just feel into what else you're noticing about your body, your surroundings, your thoughts, even some of that silence, which I know on the radio we don't want the silence. That's dead air, right? Silence and space, right? Not supposed to have that, but we can be a little bit more spacious, right? And so I'm consciously slow. So as a practice, I am intentionally slowing down how I'm speaking, which is helping me to be present with not just the words, but there's like a listening that I'm also doing. This listening into the spaces. Am I really saying the thing I want to say? How am I feeling as I'm saying the thing? What does this impact? And so doing this, right, this changes the pace of even our conversation, right? And we didn't have some agreement. I'm just like, well, let me slow down a little bit. Let me
Mhm.
have some space as opposed to rambling everything out so I can get all the ideas out. Right? Like something will happen anyway. Yeah. So what do you notice, Babs, about you interact with a lot of people, and so this notion of people's either desire for spaciousness or expansiveness or presence, or like it's not even something that is on people's minds because they're just running. What do you
I
notice?
I noticed I've noticed in the last couple of years, people are not good at holding space for themselves in solitude and quiet.
Hmm.
It's unnerving to people to be quiet, to sit and be quiet with themselves.
Yeah.
I hear that often, like they don't like it. I was
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
okay, if you could learn how to be still a little bit. When I was learning to be a spiritual director, the nuns would say to us, or the teachers would say, your prayers are you talking to God. Your silence is God speaking back, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm always taken aback when people are like, I don't like the quiet. I can't take the quiet or the aloneness of that.
Yeah. For a long time, I felt that way. And I don't think I would have articulated it even that way. I just never made space for it. It was like the music is on, the movement is on, the thing is on, something's up, the TV's on, right? And kind of in the coming through the kind of crises I had as a young person, and like, oh, I need to like really figure out what I'm doing here. Because if I don't figure that out, this isn't like. So I came from a place. I was in a place of like life having no meaning, right? And this like hopelessness and despair and being suicidal and depressed, and then choosing because of some experiences, like oh, to live, like oh, I think there's something here. And so I had an experience of like there's something here to be curious about. Well, if I'm going to be curious about what's here, I need to actually be here and like be present and have life unfold in a clearer as way as possible than what I'd been living, which means I actually need to get to know myself because the self who I've been holding up and following and cheering on and guiding got me into this place of despair because I couldn't actually face myself. I couldn't pause. I couldn't listen, right? There's the listening to God, to the divine, to your ancestors, to the earth, to the wind, and to oneself. How am I going to skillfully live if I don't know what I need? How do I figure out what I need? Oh, I need to listen. I need to give space. Do I like doing that thing? Or am I just doing that thing
Mm.
because it's a habit? Is that thing, even if I like it, good for me? Leading me to the relationships I want, to the health and well being that I actually want? What else would lead me then in that direction? I don't even know. Oh, well, let me listen to what I need. It's like, a buffet. You never had the food. Yeah, let me try a little here. Let me try a little bit there. Wow, that's disgusting. I never want to eat that again. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is okay, right? But you need to explore that. And so going into oneself with that kind of curiosity is the way to understand oneself. And that discomfort, so much of that discomfort is that fear of the unknown, fear of things being out of your control, fear of not having something figured out, or whatever. Like, I can't name all the reasons that it's hard for people. But fundamentally, what one is doing is saying, I don't want to know myself. I don't want to understand myself. I don't want to be with myself. And there are lots of reasons why we think that way. I didn't really want to be with myself. in the beginning of this journey. It was a mess. But like, if I'm gonna actually, to me, it was like, if I'm actually gonna be here, I need to deal with this.
Mm.
Because otherwise, I'm gonna end up back in the same place of like, this has no meaning, and I know where that goes. So, oh look, my room, my interior space, like my room is a mess, and at some point, when I'm present and I notice it, can I like, oh, do I want it this way? No. Is it leading to the life that I want? No. Okay. Can I just be with it first? And then let the being with it, oh, I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it from here to here. I'm going to put this thing away, or I'm going to hold it tenderly, right? I'm going to do these dishes. I'm going to throw this in the garbage. I'm going to take the garbage out. And we do that internally as well. Oh, why do I, when I care about somebody or they care about me, why do I push them away? Huh, that's a weird thing to do. Why do I push? Oh, I'm afraid. Oh, okay. Why am I afraid? Oh, maybe, can I not be afraid? I really don't want to be afraid. Right? So all of a sudden you're paying attention to the urge of like, I don't want to be afraid. I want closeness. Right? I want to have a relationship with somebody that's more authentic. That's not just like, my line of, it's like, here's my script of my interactions. I used to be a carpenter, and not that all scripts are bad, but when that becomes the center of a communication, it's pretty empty actually, or is not as relevant as it could be. So I was a carpenter for a long time, and there's just things that folks say that's just like routine, you know. Nice, even like, oh, it's so good to see you. Oh, it's nice being seen. Like people, there's just scripts that people have, and not that they have no meaning, but at a certain point, they're just saying the script because of the meaning it had, even if they don't feel that. Right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And there's things that we do in ways that we interact with people in the day to day in casual ways, which are like, oh, this is a casual conversation. Great, we can do the little thing. I see you, you see me. We got the same little shared language. Beautiful. We're done. That's fine. But in our deeper relationships, or the places we want deeper relationships, that's not enough, because that doesn't actually allow who we are to be present. It's always behind this. It's in the script. It's behind the mask. It's like, oh, these are the appropriate behaviors here. These are the appropriate things to talk about here. Oh, I can't talk about those things. Why? Well, no one else is doing it. Oh, well, maybe no one else is doing it because no one else is doing it. And if I want to do it, I could then make this space a place for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to speak. I need to feel what's even happening. And to allow the importance of your needs to also be present in places that doesn't seem like it's has space for it, because the space can't hold something that you don't even bring to it. Right? If I want a relationship, for example, where I can trust the other person, they trust me, and I want that as a relationship. Oh, I want to be able to be honest with somebody. Well, start to be honest and see how that goes, as opposed to like waiting in the wings to get all the hints and the clues that some honesty can be there.
Yes.
Dude, it doesn't have to be the great big open-hearted thing, but try a little bit.
Yes.
What do you want to do tonight? I'd really like to do this. I'm really tired. I just want to, like, can we just hang out? Or like, I want to go to this hopping party. Like, just try whatever it is. Oh, this is what can we just go for a walk? Or there's this thing that's been bothering me. I just want to talk. Or like, I don't even know what I want.
Mm.
And be with that. Right? And there may be space for it. But you won't know unless you put it in the space. Put yourself in that space. And you don't know how to put yourself in the space without some practice on your own, being in touch with more of who you are, or what you might need, what you might be yearning for, what might be a place of hurt that needs some care, and not as like a big rush to fix something, but like, oh, there's just some care that I think is needed that I never got. And I don't even believe I've grown up believing that it's just not even possible. Huh. I wonder if that's really true, or just what I've been led to believe or cultivated that belief. There are lots of ways to be a person.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the whole world is filled with people.
Why there are people on every corner.
They seem to be everywhere, right? And no, we're all not that different, but we're also very different, right? And so unless we bring ourselves to it, to the table, so to speak, we're not there's not space. They're not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, oh, I gotta show up like they're showing up. They seem to be relaxed and comfortable, just talking whatever. I guess I should just do that. It's okay, but if there's a yearning for something more, and I encourage people, like there's always a place for more of us to be present, because we're always changing and growing. A tree needs more space. It doesn't just stop growing. Okay, this is good. It's always changing. Right? We are always changing. Physically, we're changing and growing all the time in different directions at different times. Emotionally, because everything is changes. We're not as sponge-like as we were when we were children, because we don't need to be. But there's so much opportunity for learning about ourselves. And that comes from this place you were mentioning before. Like, if I can't be with myself, how can others really be with me?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't really know what I need, it's crazy to think that somehow someone else is going to meet my needs. That discomfort is like, oh, it's because I don't know myself. And I might be scared of like, I don't want to open that box because there's like terror in there, right? There's harmful things. Well, fine. Treat that box gently and tenderly. Get some healing and fortification so that you can, it's like, oh, here's this heavy box full of trauma. Okay, don't lift that by yourself. Maybe you don't have the capacity to open it up and go through it, but get someone to help you. We're just going to move it over into the corner there.
Imagine that. I like the way you
Recognize
said
it's
that.
there.
That's a
Yeah,
good way to say that. Because when you say to people, get some help, they immediately start to recoil into themselves because, oh no, 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 no.
yeah,
And we don't say that about any other illness. We would never say to someone, you
right.
know, if you have a toothache, don't get that handled. Or if you have
Right.
cancer, don't deal. Just ignore it.
You dislocated your shoulder. It's all right. Just You'll be all right. It'll just get better. Yeah. And also, I mean, even those in terms of harm, but we don't exist by ourselves.
Right.
Like concretely, in terms of reality, we don't. And so this is just another place. So even if we don't, if it's not a matter of like, so in terms of like hurts, I know I'm very good at it. I'm sure so many people are very good at encasing them and hiding them and burying them, right? Because we don't actually get a lot of encouragement in our culture of doing anything different with those things. And so even if it's about getting help, because over time, all that burying leaves little, smaller amount of space for ourselves, because we're actually adjusting for that burden while trying to ignore it. And we're spending energy ignoring it, because our hearts, coming back to our hearts, are really simple. If we bury certain degree of feelings because they're uncomfortable, we're going to bury those feelings into our capacity to be connected, to have joy, to have love. That's just how it works. And so even if there's like, oh, there's this like trauma that's there, the answer isn't to like, okay, everybody, let's like rip the cover off and just like let it all out, right? But it may be like, let me first recognize that it's there. Oh, there's that like big dusty trunk that's in the corner. Oh, it's taking up a lot of space. I would love to have this space for something else, but that's there. Just be with that for a little while instead of like trying to ignore like, well, I just won't put anything in the attic or in the basement or wherever. I just like won't use anything over there. And then you can, well, let me go up to it. Let me look at this trunk. Oh, it's dusty. Let me like wipe it off a little bit. Yeah, it's really, oh, it's actually not as big as I thought, or maybe it's bigger than you thought, but like just you're approaching it with some care because you're approaching yourself with care. And maybe it's not the time in your life to open that trunk, but it's in the way. And that's what I mean. Oh, you get some help. We're going to move it over to this other part. It's better situated. It's not in the middle of the floor. It's over in the corner. I know it's there. And when I have some capacity, I'll revisit it. I'll see if I can. And even as I'm like downstairs, I still know it's there, which is better than just, I'm going to shut off that part of myself. And then in time, oh, maybe I go sit with it for a little while. Maybe I then bring a friend like, I'm going to unlock it. I'm not going to open it, but I'm going to unlock it. So all these steps at approaching the healing part so that eventually not only is it open, but we like, oh, maybe we open it and like, oh, there's this little thing inside. I thought it was full of like it's just this little basket is in there. Let me take that little basket out. And now I can get rid of the trunk and now it's just this little basket, right? Or it might be you open it up like, oh, there's a lot in there. So now let me see the capacity I have and step by step to address what's in there. And I'm learning about myself and I'm being with myself not as a some ascetic discipline, like regardless of how I feel, I'm just gonna stick it out. Like, no. Bit by bit with care, right? This is how you care for this, is how you give yourself care that you may not have experienced when that hurt happened. And then you can sift through it. And what do I need to address and what can be addressed? Oh, maybe now again, like that little basket, there's half of it I addressed and half of it is here, but I can move it to something smaller. And I have greater capacity with the things I've helped to resolve. And just to be on that journey. And that's what some of the quietness and the listening helps you to discern what is even inside. And maybe there's also things of value, not just because we've been leaning on trauma, right? In that listening, there's also things of value and wonder and joy. I really love doing it. I haven't done that. Why? Because I feel like, oh, if I love something, if I like something, like who am I to want that? Or it's going to be taken. But I really love that. Let me do the thing. Let me enjoy that. And all of a sudden you're letting something arise and unfold and to awaken inside of oneself. But you're only going to discover that if you listen and spend some time with yourself. Before my relationship with Tegan, which is now, we just had our 25th wedding anniversary, my longest relationship was 6 months long. Before that person, my longest relationship was 3 months long.
Whoa.
Yeah. So when I broke up with that person after 6 months, what often happened, I came to this realization like, oh, I'm really good at meeting other people's needs. I'm really not good in having my needs really be present in the relationship. And then I realized like I didn't really even know what those needs were. So I said, so before I get into something else, I need to take some time and like figure out what I need. What I need really as like a single person or someone who's not dating. And then how do I hold on to that? not rigidly, but like, this is important. And in relationship with someone, how needs change, but there's also things that still I need in me that need to be there. But you won't discover that unless I didn't discover that except I paused and I was listening. Wow, what are the things I really need? I need to be explicit about these things, not like as a list, but like the felt experience of it. What's okay, what's not okay. Going to movies by myself, going out to eat by myself, just like trying to orient around, I was looking at some 12-step programs around like adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. Like, what are my patterns that I get into? Oh, I really tend to like, if they say they need me there, I like throw my stuff out the window, like without thinking about it. Oh, maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe that's not good. The notion of if I want to be in a relationship where I can be honest, so let me be honest. Let me take that risk of showing up how I want it to be. It's like that phrase, be the change you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
In relationships, let me be the way in the let me act as if I'm in the relationship that I want. Two things will happen. Either it's a yes and the person is like, yay, wonderful, right? And then you get what you want. Or there's some kind of a no. And then you can decide, oh, is this like a deal breaker, or is this just like some adjustment needs to happen, or I just need to communicate because they didn't understand what was going on. And then the relationship is based on two people with different needs coming together, or maybe more than two people, but like you're addressing these needs, and then what works as you come together. But you only discern those needs by you discerning them for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't really, I mean, even as skilled as I was, and I still am, right? I can't just name somebody's needs. Oh, they like, these are the particularities about them. It's also not my job. As a therapist, it was a little bit more of my job to like help articulate those things or uncover them, but it wasn't my job to just sit and figure them out for people and tell them what they need to do. So we need to be the ones. Oh, let me slow down. Oh, there's this party, there's that party. Well, what do I need to go to? Well, maybe I do need to show up just to maintain some relationships. Okay, so how do I need to be there so that is good enough, even if it's obligatory? Right? How can I be connected to the things I need?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe I don't need to be all up in it, and I'm there, I say my hellos, I hang out by the snacks, or I go just sit with one person who I want to talk to. That's
And then
fine.
do like what is it, an Irish goodbye? Like you just kind of,
What's that?
Irish goodbye is like you don't circle the room to say goodbye. They see you, you said hello, and then you're out. Like you just, it's
I've
like
never heard
vapor. Like,
that. People turn around and you're just gone. Yeah.
like Enroue was just here. Well, he's not here now. He had to go.
That's Irish. That would be my Irish coming out. I've never heard that. I don't know if I really want to claim that, but some other questions around how things get called a thing. Uh,
Yes, 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 yes.
um, so,
So,
so it popped in my mind. So I guess I'll say this. So with a little time we have is so a saying, right? Just there's playfulness, but like we never know where these things arise from. And so
mhm.
like the term, growing up, there was a term, someone being an Indian giver,
Yeah,
right? And it's like, oh, you gave something and now they want
mean
it back.
spirited.
Yeah. And I learned what that came from is, you know, the giving of the gift is important, but also the honoring of the gift is important.
Hmm.
And with some indigenous communities, like if you're given a gift and you're not honoring it, then that gift is not for you. And so it's like, okay, so I'm taking that back so it can be honored somewhere else. It may not be for me, but I'm going to give that to be honored. But people who are caught up in, Europeans who are caught up in like, no, that is now mine, right? Felt betrayed and felt like this person is being stingy because there's this different sense of ownership as opposed to valuing the relationship, valuing the exchange of the giving, and valuing the thing itself, not as a thing to be owned, but as actually a being. And so that term is actually a really, pejorative term.
Yes.
It also misunderstands the value, and there's a different set of values to it. So, that's why I'm always a little bit when identities get matched to other words, descriptors. I'm always like, oh, how did that really come about to be a thing, right? Not everything is bad, but like I always have a little bit of a. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to claim the Irish goodbye there.
Well, I think I know it's rooted in fun, and it's not. I don't think it's rooted in malice
Oh yeah,
or whatever. But it is a fun little thing. I think because so many people gather.
yeah.
Well,
I
anyway.
mean, I know my goodbyes and the goodbyes of my family are its own event, right?
It's
There's the.
also known as the French leave too, or the French exit. It's
Did
just
you just look that
you
up?
just yes. Because I remember somebody told it to me. This was somebody leaves a social gathering without saying goodbye to anyone.
Mm,
So, and sometimes that's just how it is when you're at a party, a
yeah,
big
of
party,
course.
not a intimate party, but when you're at a
You're on
thing.
a date with one other person. And you whip. I would not do that.
I wouldn't suggest you do that, but I have whisked into places and whisked out.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
ooh, I'm here now. I'm not.
Yeah.
So thank you, Enroue.
Thank you, Babs.
Always a good conversation.
Always
Do I
wishing
get you
you.
back one more before the new year? Are you back
Yes,
here?
2 weeks.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't want the year to end without having more time with you before
Yeah,
2025.
we'll do it.
So thank you. Enjoy your busyness today.
Thank you, you too. And I hope everybody is present with whatever business they have.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Harry. Harry's like, get off the air.
Right. You're done.